Good morning again, everyone. And what a session we've got lined up now. Somebody you know needs no introduction, Amy Nettleton, Assistant Development Director, Sales and Marketing at Asta Group. And she's going to be doing a fireside chat with legendary house DJ, Hacienda legend, Graeme Park himself. So before we get into all the questions, a quick bit of housekeeping. So emojis, show your appreciation, reactions to the session throughout. Look at that, firing away already. You can turn on the automatic subtitles. That's got nothing to do with either Amy's or Graham's accent, by the way. Just click the CC button at the bottom of your screen. That'll bring your closed captions up. To the right-hand side, you'll see chats. So drop your comments in because we're going to pick them up at the end. And also, if you've got any questions, your opportunity to ask Graeme Park some questions, fire them in, and I'll come back in for the last 10 minutes. So this session's going to run up to 12 o'clock. So you will see me again at 10 to 12. But please take loads of pictures, get it on the hashtag. Let's break the internet and just give everybody who didn't book a ticket for commsHERO massive FOMO. Over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Asif. And hello, everybody. Minus the fireside today. I know we're calling this a fireside chat, Graeme, but I haven't got one, and I don't think you have, and I think it'd be a bit too hot with it. As Asif said, I am honoured to be joined today by no other than the legendary Graeme Park. So, morning, Graeme.
Good morning. Yeah, no fireside here. I'm at one of the studios at the radio station that I work at, and if there was a fire, well, I'm not sure that would work, to be honest.
No, especially if you're in the basement. We don't want a fire down there, as you're going to be in a bit of trouble. So we've got kind of half an hour together, and I really, the theme of this session, Graeme, is you giving us an insight into how you've managed to kind of straddle probably 4 decades of industry, I know, right, to keep relevant but constantly moving forward. I think we always kind of say, you know, to be a communicator or a marketeer, then you've got to be, you know, doing all the degrees and things, and not shadowing any of that. But I do think there are people in this world like yourself that are just a born communicator and a born marketeer just by very virtue of what you do. And really trying to explore that insight of how you've changed up and constantly stayed relevant. So that's kind of how we're going to frame the chat today. And I will stop talking to allow you to talk. I won't fangirl too much, I promise. But I think for those that don't know about Graeme, Graeme was born in Aberdeen, grew up in Kirkcaldy, 1963 was born. And in our backstage chat, he very pinpointed me to Leicester, so he's very good at accents, and I know there's a few Leicester people on here as well, so a big shout out to there. We will talk about Hacienda days because we have to, and that's part of a massive part of that, but there's so much more to you than that. DJ, radio presenter, lecturer, documentary filmmaker, and that wealth of skills that really make you up as this kind of superstar communicator and marketeer. So how, I suppose an overview of that really, how have you managed to stay relevant? And was that something that was a conscious effort, or was it, or how has that come about?
I don't know really, because I just do my thing. But the thing is, if you stay doing the same thing, I think I'd get very bored. So I'm always kind of trying to, if you reach a point you think, well, this is going really well, I've never thought, well, this is going really well, I'll just do this. Never rest on your laurels. Never believe your own hype either. A lot of up and coming DJs these days, I think, believe their own hype and get a bit carried away with it. Always be aware that there's people snapping at your heels, and the fact that I absolutely love what I do, I want to keep doing it. So I'm always thinking, well, how can I make this better, or how can I do things a bit differently? But always trying to just move forward. For example, one of the reasons we came up with Hacienda Classical Show is because it was a way of playing or performing classic tunes in a different way, because I've been DJing since 1983, 1984. The Garage in Nottingham, East Midlands. That's why I recognised that you had a Leicester accent, because I also used to DJ a lot in Leicester at the fan club.
Oh, I remember the fan club very well. You could never, your feet used to stick to the floor in the fan club.
Yeah, well, that's it. Here's an interesting fact nobody knows. The original logo of the fan club was actually designed by me. My handwriting. Yeah, my handwriting. I also used to DJ though at an amazing venue in Leicester called Helsinki.
Oh, I remember Helsinki's very well.
I used to love that so much. But now I've completely lost my thread. What was I saying?
Hacienda Classical, bringing that to the audience.
So the reason I have Hacienda Classical is because, I mean, I've been DJing since 1983, 1984. And over the years, I always like the fact you get new generations of clubbers who come along, who don't come along with that baggage of, I used to go to the Garage or I used to go to the Hacienda, and they want to hear, you know, a real variety of tunes. And if you're DJing every weekend all your life, it gets a bit tedious to play the same classics. I understand if someone who is over 40 and doesn't go clubbing every week wants to come out and hear all the classics. I totally get that. But if you're DJing every weekend, then you don't want to stick to the same tunes. That's why we came up with Hacienda Classical. But of course, never realised it was going to be so big. We did Castlefield Bowl in Manchester on Saturday. It was incredible. I just couldn't believe it. Me and Peter Hook just kind of like looking at the crowd going, we need to go out and thank them first before we even do the show.
Well, I think you need to thank them, but we need to thank you because exactly that. And something like Hacienda Classical does exactly what you said. It, you know, Hacienda is a bit like the Woodstock, isn't it? If everyone that said they went to Woodstock actually went to Woodstock, then it would never have happened, because it would have been too many people there. And the Hacienda for me, and you know, you started there in '87, and were there for near on a decade. And I think, like you say, not resting on your laurels, being a young DJ, 24, 25 years old at that time, to be thrown into and making what the Hacienda was. You know, unfortunately, I never got there. But what drove you, and I want to come back to the classical in a moment, but what drove you creatively in those early days, you know, standing behind those first DJ sets at the Hacienda? What drove you then?
Well, before I was a DJ, I played in bands, right?
Yeah.
I sang. This is in the
Did
East
you
Midlands.
Sing?
Yeah,
Go on, you.
I sang. Well, I actually sing a song in the current Hacienda Classical show.
Do you?
I do, yeah. So I gave up playing in bands to be a DJ, but ironically, over 3 decades later, I've gone back to singing in a band, albeit on a much grander scale, because I've got a 40-piece classical orchestra behind me, a choir.
That's the way to do it, though, isn't it?
And Peter Hook on bass. But no, I wanted to be like in a band. That's all I wanted to do. I played saxophone and sang, a bit of keyboards, occasionally a bit of guitar, and worked in a record shop in Nottingham, Selected Disc in Nottingham, amazing record shop. And the owner of the nightclub, the late Brian Selby, bought the Ad Lib Club, renamed it the Garage, and said to me, I want you to DJ in the club because I think the records you play in the shop are great. I said, well, no, I'm not a DJ. He said, well, you've got to do it or you're not going to work in the record shop. So I was 19.
Okay.
And I loved my job. So, because my job, I was getting paid to play music, basically.
Yeah, which is just a dream.
Yeah. So I reluctantly agreed to DJ and immediately loved it. I just thought, oh my God, this is great because I get to play music I love and people seem to love the music I play. And unlike being in a band, I didn't have to set any equipment up or sound check. I just turned up with my vinyl and played the music. And the £25 I got at the end of the night was all mine. Didn't have to split it with a band. So I thought, I'll give this a go. And even though the band I was in at the time was getting a bit of interest from record companies,
right?
I thought, no, I'm gonna give the DJing a go for a little while and see where that takes me. I had no idea it was gonna be my career. And this is what I tell up and coming DJs who seem to have no patience, who want everything and they want it all now. I then just DJed at the Garage twice a week and worked in the record shop. I was a massive fan of Factory Records and New Order.
Yeah.
And I was the singles and second-hand buyer. So there I was, Monday to Saturday, buying in all the new singles to sell and buying people's old second-hand stuff and probably keeping a lot of it for myself, although paying for it, and building up a record collection, and then just having a residency at an amazing club like the Garage, playing music and getting to know the music and getting to learn my craft. I was listening to mixtapes. A friend of mine lived in New York, and he sent me mixtapes of Tony Humphries, Frankie Knuckles, and Marley Marl.
Wow.
From radio stations in New York, Kiss FM, WBLS, and I used to listen to those and go, yeah, this is fantastic. This is what I want to do, but do it in my own way. So the early days of my DJ career, it was literally playing old soul, old funk, old disco, plus the 12-inch dance mixes of contemporary music. So that would be Human League, Talking Heads, New Order, ABC, Aztec Camera, Joseph K, Oranges, just mixing everything up, and then the early electro stuff came over from New York that was produced by Arthur Baker. So I'm talking Africa Bambaataa with Planet Rock, the Johnson Crew, all that kind of stuff, and that was like the future. This was like this sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And then that morphed into the early hip hop stuff like Big Daddy Kane, Roxanne Shante, EPMD, Kool Moe Dee, stuff that I currently play on on my breakfast show on Mum's Spaghetti Radio, but we'll come to that.
Yeah, we will.
To that later. And then people started to take notice of what I was doing. I started playing in Leicester at the fan club. I started playing the Lead Mill in Sheffield. And then in 85, 86, all this weird stuff from Chicago and Detroit started to appear, which became known as house music.
Yeah.
And that kind of mixed in with all the hip hop, but then the house music took over, and that's how I got to meet. That's when I got to meet Mike Pickering at an ID magazine photo shoot in London in 1987, and we hit it off.
Wow.
And next thing I know, he's asking me to cover for his Friday night.
You never left.
And I never left. I did it for 3 weeks. He came back, heard how good it was, and I stayed. But to me, being asked to DJ at the Hacienda, a club that was owned by New Order, Tony Wilson, Rob Gretton, people that I admired and were massive fans of, and a big Factory Records fan, to find myself being part of that,
amazing,
3 weeks was incredible. But then to be asked to stay and
for
to get to know, exactly, and I got to know these people.
Yeah.
Then summer '89, I didn't get asked. I got told I was flying to North America to DJ on a New Order tour of North America. And I spent 3 months on the road with New Order, the Sugar Cubes, and Public Image Limited, DJing at huge stadiums at the age of 25. I couldn't believe it.
So when you were talking about that, I think what was really interesting there, Graeme, and I think for like the people that are watching as well, is around, you hit a nail with me around the young DJs, little patience, want everything kind of now. And I think that's testament, and I'm showing that I am early 40s. I think that's testament to just a generational thing. I think everything's so immediate.
Everything is, yeah.
You know, there's instant gratification for everything. You don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to put a shift in. You don't have to, when I started working, I was office junior making tea. I had to make tea at 10:30 and 3:30, and God forbid it was late. Otherwise, I was in real trouble. But you did that. Whereas I think we have an issue now that everybody thinks, I want to be like in your industry. They'll look at somebody like you who is legendary, been around for decades, worked absolutely their backside off, but done the shift, and then wants to be in that kind of same environment and getting the same trappings. But A, you have to have the skill and talent, but B, you have to have that hard work ethic, which I think we've lost a little bit.
Yeah, well, see, I didn't. To me, I just love the music, and I still do love music, and that's why I do it, right? Okay, the fact that I've made a living out of it is a bonus. The fact that I suppose that I'm in demand and get to do what I do every weekend, several times over, is great. But at the end of the day, it's just, to me, I just love sharing music that I love with people who tend to love the music that I share with them, whether that's on the radio, whether that's in a club, whether that's on stage with an orchestra. And so I didn't set out to, I hope that when I'm in my 50s next century, I'm doing Q&As with people online and stuff, because, well, online wasn't really a thing when I started out. Everything's a bonus, but people now just want people. I get friends of mine or people of my generation contacting me on social media, go, my son or my daughter wants to be a DJ. What advice would you give them? Right. And I'm like, well, just try and enjoy what they do. Oh, they want to be famous, or they want to be a big name. I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're starting out from the wrong point, aren't you?
Right. I mean, here's an example. The other day, somebody that I've worked with in the past said, "Oh, my son's DJing at a festival, this little festival in Manchester. Can you give him? I need some advice." I went, "Yeah, what do you want to know?" He goes, "Well, he needs to do a Manchester-based set. What tunes should he be playing?" I'm like, no. Well, I said, well, just get him to do the research. You should know the tunes, you know. I thought he was asking for mixing,
techniques or something. Not what to play.
I think at the end of the day, if you want to be successful as a DJ or a musician, you need to know your music.
Of course you do.
Have that knowledge and also learn a bit about the craft.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't matter what you use. If it's vinyl, CDs, USBs, MIDI controller, that's irrelevant. I mean, there's a lot of people of my generation now probably going like, what? It's irrelevant. It should be vinyl. It doesn't matter. What's important is what comes out of the speaker.
Sharing it.
I sometimes use vinyl. I sometimes use a MIDI controller. I never use CDs because CDs were always rubbish and will always be rubbish, I think. It's about knowing your music and being able to do some decent mixing. But mixing isn't the be all and end all, because there's a lot of great DJs of my generation who can't mix.
Okay. You want to name some names?
No, some of them still try to mix.
Oh, okay.
But the ones who can't mix and know they can't mix, they just beat match things, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4. That record ends and the next one begins. That's great. Yeah. If you can't mix, don't try. It's not important. But if you can mix, and I learned to mix on vinyl, listening to what Tony Humphries and Frankie Knuckles was doing, listening to what Marley Marl was doing with his cutting up and scratching, and thought, I'll give that a go. Unaware that most British DJs weren't bothered about that. Because when I first went to DJ in New York at Mars Club in 1989, all these people going, "Oh, you Brits, you can't mix," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." So then I did, and they were like, "Jesus, you can mix." I'm like, "Well, you know, that thing." But you've got to know the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's, to me, the most important thing.
So
and find things that people aren't expecting as well.
Absolutely, and I think
play to the crowd, but don't just stick to the obvious things. Because if I go and see a DJ, I don't want to know what I'm going to hear. I want to be excited about
that kind of feeling.
What is this record I've never heard before?
Yeah.
What is this vibe?
Yeah.
Or wow, I haven't heard this record for 20 years. That's what I try and do.
Yeah. Okay. So on to that. I want to talk now around. So you being a DJ in front of people, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, your communication then is right in front of you, isn't it? You've got the dance floor there, the power, the emotion, the love, the pain, the elation. We've all felt all of those things. I felt all of those things on a dance floor when that music comes up through your body and you're like, oh my God, it's going to hit. And you can see and you can feel it. It's definitely palpable. It's almost like religion, like you adjust your sermon to the kind of congregation in front of you and you can read the room. So
yeah, That was a bit what the Hacienda was like. Me and Mike Pickering were 20 feet in the air, looking down on people who all had their hands in the air, waving at us.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the feeling of music that was going through their bodies; it was the feeling of someone else going through their body as well, which added to everything. But no, you're right. You've got to be aware of your audience.
Yes.
So don't have an agenda. I've sat on planes and trains and buses with DJs who are, rather than have a conversation about life, want to say, "Oh, I can't talk. I'm trying to plan my DJ set for tonight." And I'm like, "What do you mean plan your DJ set for tonight? You've no idea what it's going to be like."
Exactly.
I have an idea in my head on the way to a gig, what I'd like to play and what I'm hoping to play. And most of the time, that's what you get there and that's what you do. But sometimes you go, "Oh my God, the DJ before me is playing a completely different vibe to what I was going to do. So I'll have to change my plans." Or you might start playing and think of the DJ before you might play something that make you think of something else. So I just make it up as you go, as I go along. That's what I've been doing all my life, making it up as I go along. And it seems to have been working so far.
So I think that so the difference then, so I really like that idea of actually knowing your audience, and from a comms perspective, that's so important, something that we often overlook. You know, it's like, oh, we're putting these messages out and we're not getting the traction. Well, do you actually know who you're talking to?
Well,
I want you to talk to us about the difference of reading a room versus what you're doing, like where you are now, the radio. How do you change your communication, or how does it feel different to you when you can't see anybody and you're listening to people ringing in, or however they communicate? How do you get your feedback then?
Well, first of all, being a resident DJ at the Lead Mill in Sheffield on a Wednesday, the Fan Club in Leicester on a Thursday, the Hacienda in Manchester on a Friday, and the Garage in Nottingham on a Saturday. That's how you got to know your audience.
Yeah.
Because you saw them every week, and they got to know you.
Yeah.
So you could play with them, and there's an element of trust there.
Yeah.
But then since Hacienda closed, and then I went to be a Cream resident for a bit, and then I stopped doing that, and then I was just all over the world.
Yeah.
So I'm a guest DJ most weekends. I don't have any residencies, but I still know my audience because there's people who grew up with me and who kind of trust me. But social media is a way of getting to know your audience, because you know, I put my mixes on my Mixcloud profile, and there's an interaction. I do like that interaction with an audience. I was an early adopter of MySpace, then Facebook and Twitter, and I've got large followings because I was there in the very beginning and kind of sussed out how important and how what a great tool it was for communication. But again, when I see a crowd in a club, I always like to get there an hour before, because you can always see a few faces, you know, or just chat to people and get a feel for the place. But when you're on the radio, I mean, I have 2 radio shows. I've got my weekly Long Live House radio show, which is a syndicated show, which is me playing new stuff that I think people should hear, and classic stuff that people have forgotten about. But then I recently in July started a breakfast show, unaware that we were going to come out of lockdown the same weekend that my breakfast show launched, which has been a bit tough doing a breakfast show Monday to Friday and all these gigs. But I know I'm loving it. But the difference with radio is, you can get people contacting you on social media, but I just think of you're just talking to someone who's listening and just trying to get across that, like with my Mum's Spaghetti breakfast show, is classic hip hop, rap and R&B from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. So this morning I was playing Public Enemy, Eric B and Rakim, Gangstar, En Vogue, SWV.
And I just talk SWV.
Exactly. So I just talk about what great music it is. Soul to Soul on the way, Nena Cherry's coming up after Eric B and Rakim. It's just trying to imagine someone driving their van, driving their lorry, queuing for fuel.
Oh God.
Come on, people. There's no need for that. And you just try and like talk about the music, and I have some memories, like the time Eric B and Rakim had me up against a wall in their dressing room at Rock City in Nottingham. Gosh,
what have you done?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No. This is a long story for another time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need
you know. Yeah, I mean, I've got lots of stories. I haven't got time for all my stories, but just know your audience and
Yeah.
respect your audience. Don't be an arrogant tit like
Yeah.
some DJs these days. Really full of themselves. I mean, I've turned up at gigs where the equipment's been not what I ordered or not what was on my rider, and rather than throw a tantrum and storm off, you think, right, how can we make this work? Whereas
Exactly.
I've been on the bill with some DJs who go, like, have you seen the equipment? I'm not DJing because it's not what I ordered. And they go, well, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
Expecting it to be really, really rubbish equipment. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, what's wrong with it? It's not what you ordered, but
Yeah.
10 years ago you would have used it. Why don't you just use it? To me, just a lot of DJs just need to get over themselves and just remember that essentially what we do is play music to a crowd of people who want to dance.
Yeah.
And that's essentially it. It's
Yeah.
about the music. It's not about the DJ. Okay, I do admit that people do like to go and see certain DJs, and hopefully I'm one of those
You
DJs.
definitely are.
And my experience and my backstory and my history is what brings people along. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the music that comes out of the speakers, which is why, although I have made music and I do sometimes still these days make music, I think you're either a great DJ or a great music producer.
Yeah.
You cannot be both. And there's so many DJs now who try and be both. And I've heard great music producers do very average DJ sets. Equally, though, I've had lots of great DJs to make very average music. I think you've got to put your flag down on one side, and to me, that side is DJing.
Well, you've got to pick and I think this is another thing that people tend to try and do. They try to think they can do everything, and actually, you're a specialist in a skill. You're a specialist in skill at your trade and your craft, and this is where, like you say, you're rocking up to gigs that maybe the kit isn't right, but you know what you're doing. So actually, you can
do I though?
That. Well, you make us believe you know what you're doing. So that's part of the comms mystery. You see, you're communicating that you know what you're doing.
I do, and not taking the decision to stop drinking while DJing 5 years ago has made a massive difference. Yeah, because since I stopped drinking while working, Christmas Day 2016 is when I stopped drinking, and I didn't have a drink really until lockdown. I started drinking again in lockdown because I wasn't going anywhere, and I realized I could have a little drink at home and not go crazy. But up until Christmas Day 2016, I was getting in a situation where I was just drinking all the time and drinking at every gig. And then I realized that it was maybe starting to affect what I was doing. And then 2017 onwards, I realized you don't need to get drunk or get.
But Sophia says you're not a big Beck's Blue fan, are you?
Beck's Blue is the worst alcohol-free lager ever. The best one's called Lucky Saint.
Okay, that's a shout out for you non-alcoholic guys.
Honestly, if you don't want to try the best alcohol-free beer that tastes exactly like beer, and if you drink it while DJing, it's like a placebo. So you believe you're drinking, your brain gets that kind of little buzz that you get off alcohol. But at the end of the night, you're not falling over. You remember what you've just done, and you get up in the morning and have a nice breakfast rather than staying up until you realize it's breakfast time.
That horrors of when the sun rises. Yeah. Nobody needs that in their life, do they?
I don't mind that if you're sober and the sun's rising. It's fantastic. I'm not, but Lucky Saint, honestly, trust me. Lucky Saint
that's one for you guys.
Amazing alcohol-free beer.
Okay, we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left for Asif joins again, and I just want to touch upon some other things that you do, Graeme, as well. So I've watched with interest, and I love the way, and you're a delight to chat to, and this is what comes across in your creative futures. So if anyone's ever wants to look at this, Graeme does a lot of stuff, and we'll send a link out as well for all of his interviews and conversations. But what is great with you and watching them, even from the transition from in person to then when lockdown hit and you were doing them virtually, is your ability to hold that person and you have a nice intensity that you're just talking to them, but you're engaged and you're not kind of, you're in the moment. And I think that transcends through whether you're DJing to tens of thousands of people or whether you're just talking to 1 or 2 people. So talk to us about Creative Futures and the change to that more kind of academia role, and the arts, and where did that creativity come around?
Well, like most things in my life, I became involved in academia by accident. I became a DJ by accident. Just, lots of things I've done. I think I'll give it a go. In 2008, I lost. It was with the financial crash. So a lot of clubs went out of business. A lot of promoters went out of business. A lot of promoters said, "Oh, I can't pay you what I've been paying you for the past 10, 15 years." And to coincide with that, I had 3 big radio contracts and they didn't get renewed.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, this is really bad. Because up until 2008, everything I ever earned, I pretty much spent, so that Ferrari had to go. And we had 4-year-old twins as well, me and my wife. And I got asked, I'd done a bit of guest lecturing, and then I got asked if I'd cover some lectures at a university in Northeast Wales called Glyndŵr University. And I didn't really fancy it, but financially I thought, well, they're paying me, I'll do it for a year. And then I got asked to stay. Will you stay on? And then they created over the years new modules that I delivered, and eventually became a senior lecturer and on a contract. So 2 days a week, I'm a senior lecturer at Glyndŵr University in Wrexham. I also do stuff at LIPA in Liverpool. And about 3 or 4 years ago, we came up with an idea of doing a module for everyone in the creative side of the university. So that's art and design, creative media technology, radio, television, live sound, studio recording, music production, called Creative Futures, where I talk to people in the creative industries. And I put all the students together in groups of different disciplines to work on projects together, because that reflects what it's like to work in the creative sector. When I've worked at radio stations, I've had to work with people I don't get on with, and people who I think are complete idiots. By the way, not at the current radio station I work at, Mum Spaghetti. Everyone here is fantastic. But I'm talking about radio stations I've worked at.
And that's just life, isn't it? We all work, we've all worked with people.
Exactly. But even with I've been on the same bill, and even now I'm on the same bill as DJs who I think are just complete halfwits. But I don't tell them that I think they're complete halfwits. You just get on with them. You just do your job. So Creative Futures is to reflect what it's like in the creative industries, but also to hear the stories of other creatives. So we've spoken to broadcasters, artists, music producers, singers, musicians, graphic designers, people who curate art exhibitions. And the common theme is that most creatives don't really have a plan.
No.
They fall in to what they do. But like, I've fallen into everything I've done. But what I try and get across is, as soon as I realize I've fallen into something and I'm quite good at it and I enjoy it, I don't want to get that. I don't want to let that go. So I make sure you grab it with both hands, and I make sure that I keep that going. And as a result, I've been a DJ all my life. I've been a lecturer since 2008. I meet all my new students this week. And I'll meet them in person. For the past 18 months, I've been doing it all from the comfort of my couch, which has actually been quite nice. No.
And I think that's it. I think the theme with talking to you, and it's so refreshing, and I hope people are really picking up on it, is that things don't always have to be planned. There's always chance meetings, there's always chance opportunities, and there's that old quote, isn't there? Accept and work out how you're going to do it later. And I think there's a big thing that you have to have more confidence in yourself to go, do you know what, I'm going to give it a go. And you never know where that's going to lead. Imagine if you'd have said no to the Hacienda step in or the Creative Future step in.
But see, I find it hard to say no if someone comes to me with a really good idea. For example, Mum Spaghetti Breakfast. They approached me months and months ago. I think it was like early January or February. We wanted to do a breakfast show. I said, don't be so ridiculous. I can't do a breakfast show. But then I thought, well, I miss doing live radio. I used to do live radio for years. Last time I did it was 2017 on the Bauer network. And But the money was rubbish. But then they kept coming back with the improved offers and everything. And then in the end, I thought, well, we're not sure when this lockdown is going to finish, because being one of the excluded, and let's not get all political, but God, this government of ours is completely useless. I mean,
absolutely.
how can a conservative government not support independent businesses and limited companies? So I had zero help from the government financially for 18 months. So then obviously the thought of getting some money doing a breakfast show, I thought I'll do it. But of course, by the time we'd done the deal and agreed to launch a station, that was the same weekend as clubs opened. So it's been pretty full on.
How tired are you?
I don't get tired, because if you're not drinking, how can you get tired? I also do a lot of mountain biking. And any middle-aged cyclists out there, I've got no time for the old road cycling in tight lycra. Nah, I'm off-road with slightly baggy stuff on, flying through forests at dark in the dark. I love it. I was very tired Sunday and Monday after the weekend, but you know what? Just having a healthy lifestyle and having a positive mind, because I know a lot of people have really suffered during the pandemic,
massively,
financially, and mentally. And I know people who, I learned a lot from 2008 in that I stopped spending all the money I earned. So my wife works full time. I had my part-time senior lecturer salary, but money in the business, money in the bank. So we were all right. Doesn't mean I wasn't. I'm not saying I shouldn't have been entitled to financial support. I don't see why I shouldn't have been, but that's another story. I've always been a glass half full person. So it's like, rather than go, oh my God, I've got no income, what am I going to do?
How do I get income?
I'm like, okay, I've got no income, but
how do I get it?
My wife works. I've got my lecturer's salary, and I've got money in the bank. And I also started doing lots of merchandise.
No, we like that stuff. So we're going to send, some links, and we might even be able
I'm not going to retire on a few t-shirts, caps, and
but we might even be able to get a cheeky little t-shirt or something, which would speak to Asif about.
We'll sort something out.
Perfect. There's a couple of other things that I do just want to touch upon with you before I leave, and I don't really want to leave. I'd like to just sit and chat to you for ages. So I think around the COVID, and everyone just suddenly stayed at home, and you were, again, you turned your communication and your reach to doing charity live DJ streams, and reaching your audience in that way, and bringing people together as well. And did that kind of fulfill you as much as it fulfilled and kept everyone else going as well in their kitchens?
If I'm honest, no, because you need an audience. I know. Okay, it's nice interacting with an audience online.
It's not
the same. You need the atmosphere. You need to smell the crowd. Literally smell the crowd. Sometimes, you don't want to smell the crowd, but it's part of the job. You need to. Funky. But I mean that in a positive, and I mean that in a good way. No, I mean, it was great to do it. When we did the United We Stream stuff, it was great, because I got to jump in the car and drive to a theatre in Bury. And play through an absolutely kicking sound system. But to an empty room. At home, in my ramshackle garage. The reason that I made a big thing of it in the end, but the reason it's so ramshackle is literally about a month before lockdown, I decided I was going to do some work in my garage to make it more of a studio, and get new equipment and turn it into a little TV studio, and do some kind of building work. But then, just as we were about to go, we entered lockdown and pandemic, so I had to pull the plug on that, because I didn't know if I could afford it. So that's why we started moving things about the garage and putting loads of crap in it. So I had to DJ, and it's still, as you'll see on Thursday night, it's still the same. I have to DJ with a white sheet hanging up to hide the mess behind me. And I'm so busy at the moment, I'm going to have to leave my studio refurbishments till next year, I think. But it was good to just remind people that I'm still here, and to share the music and share the joy.
You would have got people through that. I'm going to a first gig tomorrow night that I've not been to a gig for ages. So I'm going to see Jerry Cinnamon at Ali Pally tomorrow night.
Oh, brilliant.
Which I'm so excited about, just to have that interaction and just to hear live music again. And I think
it's great though. I mean, since the middle of July, I mean, I did a few socially distanced gigs that were okay, but just just okay. But since the middle of July, it's been absolutely crazy. Indoors, outdoors. The indoor gigs slightly concerning because people are hot, sweaty, and drunk, and then they're throwing their arms around you, and you have to kind of politely remind them, "Well, you're drunk, I'm not, and there's still a pandemic there's still a virus out there."
Yeah.
But touch wood, I've not had COVID.
No.
My wife's had it. One of my sons has had it, but me and my other son haven't.
Remained.
I'm double vaxxed.
Good.
Because that's the right thing to do. Let's not get into all that crazy talk from.
We need a political one. I need to do a political one.
The ill-informed anti-vaxxers out there. Let's not go down that road. But it's great to be back out there.
Yeah,
but really hard work. I did 7 gigs one weekend.
Jesus.
2 on a Friday, 3 on a Saturday, 2 on a Sunday. One Saturday I was in Essex at 1 p.m, Sheffield at 6 p.m, and Newcastle at 11 p.m. But you know what? I love it.
Yeah.
The only thing is, we'll never make up for the money we lost. Even though I'm dead busy, I'll never make up that money I lost over 18 months. And if that bloody multi-millionaire half-wit chancellor thinks the excluder is just going to go quietly, he's got another thing coming. You know, we're still here, we're still shouting, and I think there's still a right to be wronged.
So
sorry, a wrong to be righted.
So before Asif finishes us up, we've got probably 5 or 10 minutes we're leaving him, and I'm not leaving him much time. 2 more questions from me.
Yeah.
Is Embrace the New documentary going to get done? Because that trailer, for me, you teased me with that trailer, and I was like, I'm in, you know. Well,
I hope it's going to get done, but the thing is, the pandemic got in the way, and it's about funding. We've had so many production companies, TV companies interested in it, and they lead you down a garden path for weeks and months, and then at the end go, here's our decision, go and make it, and we'll buy it from you. And you're like, that's not what you've been saying for the past 3 months. But the pandemic hasn't helped, and Glenn, who the director who I work with, we haven't really seen each other for a while because of the pandemic. So we're going to see, we'll pick that up later in the year, hopefully.
Definitely. Because the trailer was insane. And around if no one's seen that, we'll put some links out as well, because it touches upon what we've been talking around of actually, are you as creative in your 20s, 30s than you are in your 40s and 50s? And there's so much more to give. And
essentially, but what I discovered is when you're younger, then drink and drugs fuel you because you're younger, and it's like part of the creative process. But then you get older and realize that drink and drugs ruin everything for creatively. I think they do when you're older.
Yeah. And so Graeme, I just want to end on top 3 tips that you could give, and I'm not going to ask for playlists for up and coming DJs, but top 3 tips to keep audiences engaged for the people that are kind of watching, or any tips that you've got, or do you top 1?
Well, you've got to read the room, haven't you? You've got to read the room and realize if it's not going the way you want it to, you got to quickly change and entertain them. And that sometimes might mean doing a set that's not exactly what you want to do. That'd be one tip. Second tip would be, don't ever believe your own hype. Don't ever get carried away with yourself, you know. I've always been lucky. I've had friends who kept my feet firmly on the ground. Yeah. So, Parky, carried away. And to be honest, I quite like that. And my third tip would be just enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Don't take yourself too seriously. Just enjoy what you do, because if you're not enjoying it, then what's the point? Anything else is a bonus. Okay, getting paid to do what I do is a bonus, but if I didn't enjoy it, I don't think I could do it. And the fact that you say reinvented myself, you have to reinvent yourself. You have to adapt and change. Otherwise, you will get stuck in a rut and get bored, and then you'll be going, "Wow, what am I doing?" I'm not going to mention names, but I know DJs of my generation who play the same set every weekend. I don't know how they can do it, but then maybe they've got to do it to earn a living. I don't know. I can't do that, and I won't do that. I've got to.
That's why your dance. That's why everybody loves you and continuously follows you. So I think it's a bit of
not everybody.
well, we don't want everybody anyway, do you? We don't like everybody, so why should you think everyone likes you? So I think for me, he's already told me backstage that he's going to Leicester next year. Yeah. Go online, find out where he is. If you haven't seen Graeme, get to see him.
Can I just point out, if you go to my website, thisisgraemepark.com, and click gigs, you'll see where I'm playing. And this weekend, if anyone's interested, I'm in Congleton on Friday night at a night called Excellent at a venue called Rumba. Then Saturday afternoon, I'm playing at an event called Resurrection at Leazes Park in Newcastle. I'm on at 2:00 in the afternoon because I'm doing somebody's private event in Chester on Saturday night. Yeah.
But no, it's been
But it's the variety that I like, you see. It's the variety. If it was the same gig, that would drive me mad.
But Asif, it all leaves me to say thank you very much, Graeme, for
thank you.
Chatting. And Asif, I've not left you any time, so I'm really sorry.
That's fine. There's a few comments that we'll pick up, but fantastic. Let's show some emoji love for Graeme and Amy as well. So thank you for that. So
everyone.
We've got a few comments. Let's pick those up for you, Graeme. So we've got Andrew from Broadacres. I went to the Hacienda once, but didn't get in. Well, so what can
didn't get in. Well, you must have probably been dressed up too much, because the thing is, it was all about dressing down the Hacienda.
And we've got one from Julie Gamble Kemp as well from Red Kite Housing. I still have the UCR Mega Mix cassette.
Union City recordings, yeah.
Yeah. So all the millennials asking what cassette is. And
yeah,
Katie Wall.
I've got on the subject cassette. I've got boxes and boxes of cassettes of old DJ mixes that I'm slowly trying to digitize. If you go to my Mixcloud profile, you'll find lots of old sets of mine remastered and available again online.
They'll be amazing. So we've got Katie Wall. Graeme, you were such a tonic for us and many of our friends during lockdown.
Thank you, Kay. But, it was great interacting with everyone online. Although I would have preferred to have had a sweaty audience in front of me. It was great doing these things and interacting like we are now. So thank you for that.
And Nick Cullen from PA Housing. Big up Rock City.
Big Nottingham lad is Nick.
Yeah, Rock City was an amazing venue. When I lived in Nottingham, I used to go there to the student night on a Thursday. And I saw loads of great bands there, including Thompson Twins, Fine Young Cannibals, Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim. Ended up with them with their fat gold chains and their gold ring fingers and their hands around my neck in the corner of their dressing room. But that's another story for another time. I don't hold it against them. They're still one of the greatest hip hop acts ever.
Yeah, here you go. A tip there: 0% Guinness from Helen Reynolds.
Now I've seen the ads and I want to try it because I do like a Guinness, or I used to like a Guinness, and I'm going to try that. In fact, on the way home today, I will go and pick some up. But I do like a Guinness. I'm keen to try the 0%, so I will take your advice on that.
And Andrew said the reason. So Katie said that you couldn't see us, but loads of us were dancing around our living rooms. And Andrew said the reason he didn't get into Hacienda was he was a little worse for wear. Should have stayed on the 0% beers. Andrew.
You should have waited till you got in, and then you could have been got worse for wear in there. Nobody would have cared.
I bet the drinks were too expensive, so you just got from the supermarket.
If you got an Hacienda and became worse for wear, nobody would have batted an eyelid because everyone was licking their eyelids.
And drinks weren't expensive, as if you just drank water in the Hacienda. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No wonder the place went bust. Peter Hook claims that for every person who paid to get an Hacienda throughout its 15-year history, he's worked out that it personally cost him £10 for everyone who paid to get in.
Because they didn't buy any drinks when they're in there.
No, because it was just badly run. That's why it went bust.
Yeah.
It was great. It's the greatest club, the greatest British club ever, though. That's a fact.
Yeah.
I don't want bias, but it is a fact. And I'll argue the toss all night long with anyone who wants to argue otherwise.
Get answers on a postcard to that one. So we've got one quick question from Alice.
What's a postcard?
Exactly. Cassettes, postcards. I'm in the wrong era. What's from Alice, who's digital marketing at Broadacres Housing? What is your favourite feel-good track?
Wow, that changes on a daily basis.
What is it today?
Today, let's just say it would be, well, it's a track I played on Mum's Spaghetti Breakfast this morning, and that'll be SWV right here. Amazing.
Oh, what a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. And also, if I remember rightly, the video had them wearing jodhpurs, riding boots, and flowing white blouses.
Is that why you like it? Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's a good tune.
Ooh, yeah. SSWWUV.
That's what Alice said. That's her lunchtime track sorted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So massive round of emoji love for Amy and Graeme. That was amazing. I've got a
Thanks.
few.
I'm just gonna put in the chat the link to Mum's Spaghetti. So if you want to listen from 7 a.m., I'm there every weekday morning playing classic hip hop, rap, R&B, and more.
And your link is there. And if you want to hear a DJ set from the legendary Graeme Park, get yourself registered on the commsHERO after party, which is this Thursday, the 30th of September, 8 till 10 p.m. It's free to register that one. So those people who are in this event who paid to be here, please tell all your friends and what have you. That one's free, so get as many people as possible to that. We've got Graeme Park, we've got Arthur Smith, the comedian, we've got Sila, a virtual magician as well for that one, and social lounge, so networking. So apply yourself with your favorite tipple and join us on Thursday. Speaking of the social lounge, it is open throughout the entire event. There are breaks during every session, so go to the tables, jump on there, talk to some of your commsHERO contacts that you know or some that you don't know. A massive part of commsHERO is the community building and the new friends contacts you'll make during the event. So please do that and take advantage of that. Don't forget the competition. So next up is our resident commsHERO fitness guru, Frank Sinclair, Fit with Frank. So he's going to get you all soft and supple and stretched out and feeling relaxed. So a 10-minute yoga session with him. Ironically, he's wearing a commsHERO limited edition Krispy Kreme t-shirt. So, but he's not eating donuts whilst he's doing the yoga. So
I'm going to
see you doing that.
I'm going to eat some donuts and go on my mountain bike instead.
Yes, I like that.
So that's coming up shortly till 12:15, and then we've got Martina Topic at 12:20. So join us for that. So thank you very much. Last round of emojis, and we'll see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.